Mr. Johnson, regarding your resume claims on leading on universal preschool. You were CEO of Gary Community Ventures, which provided more than $1 million in funding to help pass Proposition EE in 2020. That raised nicotine taxes to fund universal preschool. Prop EE was put on the ballot by state lawmakers and a bill signed by the governor. I want to give you some excerpts from Governor Jared Polis' State of the State speeches. In 2019, quote, "Our top priority this session, offer free full-day kindergarten while expanding free preschool." In 2020, quote, "I'm committed to achieving universal access to quality preschool for 4-year-olds by the end of my first term." So when you say you led on universal preschool, aren't you taking credit for the governor's push for universal preschool?
No, there was a broad coalition of people who were all working together to get universal preschool done, and we were proud to be a part of it. We started the drafting of the measure earlier that year and were prepared to go straight to the ballot on it, actually, and not go through the legislature. Through extensive negotiations with leaders in the legislature, we decided there was a path to go through the legislature. So we reached a compromise, brought it into the legislature, helped support and advocate for it to pass, and work with members inside the legislature. Then when it got referred to the ballot, we helped pull together the campaign to succeed at the ballot. That meant giving money ourselves. It meant fundraising for other organizations. It meant going to editorial boards and talking to media outlets across the state to make that case. And we're proud to partner with the governor and with organizations like Healthier Colorado and preschool advocates to make sure we got that done. So I think that was a broad coalition we were excited to be a part of from the very beginning.
So broad coalition, partner with, is that the same as leading?
Oh, yeah. I think that everyone in that coalition had a real leadership role. We had a leadership role in drafting and developing it with Healthier Colorado and Jake Williams and folks like the Mirage Foundation and others. We had a role partnering with legislators who helped lead to get the votes in the legislature to get it passed. We had a role in the ballot campaign, which required raising the dollars and building the coalitions to get it endorsed and passed. And it was a historic success, which brought universal preschool statewide. And I think that's a win-win for everybody that was involved.
When it comes to the gun control bills in 2013, you say you took on the NRA and won. One of the bills that you referenced was supposed to ban large capacity gun magazines, magazines that hold more than 15 bullets. You voted yes on that bill, and we can debate whether that's taking on the NRA or not, but my question is about whether you really won. My investigation a few years back proved both that large capacity gun magazines are still sold in gun stores throughout the state, and county sheriffs are not enforcing the law. So why even reference this large capacity magazine ban as taking on the NRA and winning when it's been proven that large capacity gun magazines are still sold in the state?
Yeah, it's critically important to both pass legislation and then enforce it. Obviously, there are still folks speeding in Denver tonight, and that doesn't mean we should take away the speed limits in the city. It means you have to work hard to enforce them. I think on this story, it's an important one. The actual story of this measure, for folks that weren't there, is that, yes, we were in the state Senate. It was on a final vote. We had lost several Democrats, and it was down to one vote. And we were waiting to make closing arguments to see if we could pass these two bills. Many people had led to get to that stage. The legislators in the House, the legislators in the Senate, the parents of people who lost their kids, the victims and survivors, all showed up to push for that. They all led in this effort. But yeah, when it came time to try to hold the final vote, my caucus called on me to make the closing argument in that well, and I was proud to do it to make sure we both closed that 18th vote and that I could help cast one of those votes myself. Every single one of the 18 senators who cast a vote that day led that day. Every single one of them often faced threats, faced intimidations. Many of them then were targeted for recall. And when that happened, I also showed up to knock doors for those senators, to protect them, to help raise resources to make sure we weren't a proof point for why you couldn't take on gun safety, but instead why you could build a coalition to do that, and I was proud to be a part of it.
Why call it winning? Voting for it and passing it, sure, but why say you've won in this battle?
Well, first of all, the battle is never over. There's always more steps to take, and good steps have been taken this year. But at that point, there had been no real legislature that I know of in the country that had taken on this question of how to really ban high-capacity magazines, and the gun lobby was very powerful, as evidenced by the fact that there were hundreds of NRA members circling the Capitol, honking their horns all day long to make sure we couldn't have debate on the Senate floor. People who got death threats, people who were consistently harassed. And so our ability to say we refuse to back down, a lot of legislators thought of those ideas and backed off. We didn't back off. We stayed in the fight, we showed we could make progress, and then that wasn't enough. We stayed back to continue and return to these issues on issues like red flag laws, or the issue that the legislators did this session focused on things like raising the age for minimum purchase or adding waiting periods. Those are all important steps. No one battle wins the war, but you have to continue to stay at those day in and day out, especially on an issue as complicated as guns.
I want to ask you one more thing about another claim you make referencing COVID Check Colorado,
yes,
which provided COVID testing in the state. You you claim you took it from 1 person to 1,500 employees. Now, the city has about 13,000 employees, so it's important to know your experience running a large operation.
Yes.
On the COVID Check Colorado website, under employment verification, it says most COVID Check Colorado sites were staffed by third-party staffing agencies. Individuals at these sites were not employed by COVID Check Colorado LLC directly. So can you clear up some confusion for me? If they were not directly employed by COVID Check, why are you claiming you had 1,500 employees?
Sure. So here's the important role that we played in this, and this also was a broad partnership. It was summer of 2020. If you remember, at that point, schools were shut down. There were a lot of fears that schools wouldn't be able to reopen in the fall. And we talked to teachers, and what they said overwhelmingly was, we want to go back to school, but we need access to regular testing if we're going to do that. And so we started in that summer a plan to start testing teachers in schools and colleges. We brought on more than 100 partners. We provided more than 100,000 tests to help reopen schools that fall. And then when it was time to scale that, when the November, December came and the state wanted to offer this kind of testing statewide, they came to us. We built a partnership to expand that, and we started leading and operating those sites around the state. That meant we had our own employees that were growing. That meant there were places where we had staffing agencies who helped us. But in each one of those places, we were partnering with those staffing agencies. We were directly paying them, and we were directly supervising them. They were the ones on our site, being able to make sure when you drove up and needed a test, they were there to give you a test, to make sure the technology got you the results back on time. So we supervised and oversaw all of those partners, and we paid all their salaries, even if they were working for other staffing agencies.
You mentioned in the migrant conversation that you could hire staffing agencies in that situation. As mayor, would you consider that as they are city employees?
Oh, I think they are people under our supervision if we're hiring them and paying them, but they might be separate from city employees. But in this case, you have to be creative about how to solve problems like this. We had to do things like go to catering agencies that had gone bankrupt and said, we know you have a bunch of employees who aren't currently working because they were doing catering and that shut down during COVID. Could we convince all those folks to come be COVID testers? And more than 1,000 people all left whatever they were doing or decided to redirect their entire career paths to say, I will come in and serve the state to provide this core public service. That's a thing to celebrate, and we were proud to partner with them.
Thank you.